Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Politics and Media Show with me, Salma Yaqub. Racism has always been a problem in society. Over the past 5 decades, ethnic minority communities have put up with prejudice in its many manifestations. In sport, black footballers had monkey taunts directed at them from the stands until the 1980s. Over the past 20 years, a number of high-profile anti-racism campaigns have ensured that such blatant racism is now rare. But the problem has reared its ugly head in recent weeks, with 2 of the Premier League's biggest stars at the centre of racism allegations. England captain John Terry and Liverpool's Suarez have both been accused by fellow footballers of racist behaviour. Meanwhile, head of football's world governing body FIFA Sepp Blatter has also been at the centre of controversy over racism, with calls for his resignation over comments he made suggesting that players who've been subjected to racist remarks during a game should simply settle their differences at the end of the game with their handshake. There aren't many Muslim players in the Premier League, but in recent years, some have found themselves the target of racial abuse. And before I introduce this week's guests, we're going to take a look at an anti-racist DVD by Show Racism the Red Card organisation.
Of course, I think this is the new phobia. There are a lot of phobias, in this century, but I think is one of the biggest since the September the 11th.
As Muslims, we are ashamed of that, and we never. The religion never said to kill an innocent people.
Football players just want to play football, and anything else, like I say, the religious background or where they're from, shouldn't really come into it. You shouldn't be prejudiced against anyone.
Henry made room for the shot and found the corner brilliantly.
I personally know a bit the Muslim religion, and I never saw and I never read or heard in the Quran or a true Muslim talking about whatever you see on TV sometimes. You always have people using the religion. You have bad people everywhere. But it doesn't mean that all of them are bad.
Life is so difficult now, and for me, I'm just a Muslim. I respect my religion. I respect the others as well. And when somebody does not respect my religion, does not respect his religion as well.
The most important thing, even when you come from different countries, is to be able to work together. I mean, the most important thing is respect. Just respect, yeah.
We went down to London for a football tournament, and it's all of us in a minibus in a 7 going back to our hotel. Next minute we see 5 police cars, helicopters, different things. We're like, I wonder what's going on. Something's really going down. So we went around the roundabout once, and Jamel was like this, I think the police are following us. We're like, no. We went around it a couple of times. Next minute, 4 police cars came, a couple of meat wagons, a helicopter above us, and they came up to our car, 2 of them with guns pointing at it, handcuffed him, started questioning us where he was from, said to us, do you have guns in the car? We just started laughing. We're like, excuse me, guns? We're here for a football tournament. And they're like, get out of the car, questioned us, asked our names, everything, kept us there for half an hour. At the end of it, all we got was, sorry guys, we got the wrong people. We were laughing at the time because it was like surreal and you don't believe it, but afterwards we thought, imagine they thought we had a weapon and they just shot us, and you think about it and then it sort of sinks in later on.
You shouldn't judge people because of their religion. It's whether they're good or bad people. We've got 2 or 3 Muslim players with us now, and it's not something that's even mentioned within our dressing room or within our club, although we know that when we played Newcastle United, unfortunately, Mido suffered some abuse from the terraces that day, but it's not something that had even crossed our minds before that incident.
Two goals. That's what Gareth Southgate and Middlesbrough paid £6 million for.
There is no reason at all to hear these abuses or in our life or in football. So I was very frustrated by it, and I was very happy that I scored.
very frustrating to see it in the English game, because as players we are all well together. We are all together wherever you come from, whatever your colour is, whatever is your religion. We never had a problem of racist inside the dressing room, and it should be the same for people as well, for the supporters, and to be the same, to see how the players they are together.
Well, with me to discuss racism in sport is Luther Blissett, who is a former England international and one of the first black players to represent this country. He now works with Show Racism the Red Card, which was set up in the 1990s to use high-profile footballers as anti-racist role models. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We're also joined by Murad Qureshi, who's a member of the London Assembly for the Labour Party and is an active campaigner against all forms of racism. Thank you for being with us. If you could just, for our viewers' sake, just go into some details to what this latest controversy is with these two superstars at the centre of racism controversy.
Yeah, well, obviously, and there's a lot of people aware of the Luis Suarez, has reportedly have made a racist remark to Patrice Evra in the recent game earlier on in the season, and now the outcome of that is the FA are actually charging him. So something's been done about that one, thankfully. And the second one with John Terry, which has been brought by a member of the public, which just goes to show that players may think they can get away with things on the football pitch, but when it involves the general public, you know, they've got to watch out what they do. So it's been reported by a member of the public, and now the police are involved, so it's out of the hands of the FA, who I felt should have dealt with the thing a lot sooner. So now we'll have to wait and see what the outcome of this one is. And for me, if he is found guilty of it, and you know, I think the most severe sanctions and whatever should be brought against him for it, because he is a role model for so many kids. And the biggest reason on top of that, he is the England captain, you know, which is one person everybody looks up to when you play this game, because you all want to play for England, and he's also the captain of his club. And what do you think the punishment should be if he is found guilty? Well, we've seen in the past where members of the public have been at football grounds, have been brought up before the police for racism, and you know, they've been put in prison for maybe 3 months and that sort of thing. So you would think for him that would be the minimum that he'll get, will be 3 months. And for me, if it goes further, I think he should be thrown out of football. That should be the end of that. Never be allowed to play the game again. And you know, there all should be a fine in there as well. You know, whatever sanctions they need to make it very severe, so it can be an example to anybody else that if you do cross the line, this is what you have to pay for it. You indicated there that you feel that FA should have stepped in. It took a member of the public, but in a way, is it really not particularly surprising, considering the head of FIFA himself seems to be quite dismissive of the idea of racism on the pitch. In fact, he said there's no racism on the pitch, and even if there was, just a handshake should suffice. That's right. I mean, do you think there's a message coming from the top? There is a message coming out from the top, definitely, when you look at FIFA, and they are in charge of world football. But I mean, that statement of his is ridiculous, because when I started playing in the end of the 70s, I mean, this sort of thing happened on the pitch all the time. But there's no way on this earth I would ever shake hands with somebody who abused me in that way on the pitch at the end of it. There's just no way I'd do that. Yes, players have kicked me and they've called me other names, but the moment they refer to your colour and whatever, then, you know, I mean, there's a line to be drawn there, and I wouldn't go anywhere near that. I mean, Sepp Blatter's comment, I think, is just one of the most ridiculous things that anybody can say, and it just shows how far he's out of touch and how much, you know, where they are in their little ivory tower, that really they don't really understand what's going on below, because there's been a lot of work being done over the years with Suarez and Red Card and other charities to actually improve this situation. And what he says puts it back almost to the beginning. I mean, it sends out a shocking message to people out there, who the racists are out there, says, no, you can go ahead and do that at football matches, no problem. So if he's saying the players can do it, soon before you start to hear it more and more on the terraces, because let's face it, people that have got racist attitudes, they haven't vanished, they haven't gone. They are out there, but they're now more aware that they are, you know, they cannot now go and spread their bile like they once upon a time used to. Murad, is it actually even more surprising now, considering the decades that have gone into this grassroots level work, you know, associating football with actually non-racist campaigns, and now we're seeing footballers themselves on the pitch being embroiled in these kinds of controversies?
The surprising thing about the footballers doing it amongst themselves is that, you know, these are their fellow colleagues. I mean, John Terry has basically abused a fellow colleague's brother. Rio
Was
Ferdinand's
accused of
brother.
abusing.
Yeah, accused, sorry. And I certainly think, added to what Luther said, that the least that should happen if it's shown that it is there is a basis to the exchange, that he should be stripped of the England captaincy. I think it's not good that, given the strides we have made, and it's been very difficult over the 80s and the 90s to get to where we are, we still have these instances. I do think in the British context, whilst we may applaud ourselves for making the progress we have on the terraces by and large, we shouldn't forget we have to be vigilant about this continuously. So whilst we may be doing better than our fellow Europeans or other parts of the world, we need to also keep on top of it. Because like Luther has said, racism doesn't disappear. Its forms can take different forms in different times, and I think racists have got more sophisticated. With the footballers...
Well, you're talking about being more sophisticated. Do you think the fact we're seeing footballers do this to each other is almost a sign of how internalised racism is? So they know not to say it in certain contexts, but the attitude is there. So where they think they can get away with it and where they think a fellow footballer might not report them or respond, they think they can still do it.
I think that's true, and it will be interesting to see how the FA deal with these two instances, Suarez versus Evra. I mean, it's interesting, you know, two major football clubs, you know, two biggest clubs in the country, Liverpool, Manchester United. We've forgotten about the match and the score, and this has become the main headline. That shouldn't be the way.
Anyway, it's heartening then that it is at least a headline.
Yeah.
It's not something that's been completely swept under the carpet. And in the current climate where multiculturalism and anti-racism has taken a bashing in itself, do you think it's important that people still make sure that they talk loudly about these issues, because it's almost now politically incorrect to talk about racism?
I think it's quite interesting that Alex Ferguson is supporting Evra in this instance. You know, he's actually gone to the FA with the player himself. So, you know, that gives it a huge amount of weight in my mind, certainly. And I think managers will invariably have to be involved in this. I'd like to think the football family can sort these matters out, but there are instances, as we've seen with FIFA, on the global level, where actually we're not sure what planet he's on. And I think it is disturbing to hear this suggestion it can all be dealt with on the pitch by a handshake, because actually I think if you're at the end of abuse, I think it must be very difficult. I just go into another instance in another sport, golf. Tiger Woods just had to recently shake hands with the cabbie who did insult him in another arena. Right, yeah. And if you see that picture, it was actually very, very difficult for Tiger Woods to do that. And personally, I don't think you should have to put someone like him in that position.
And you're being ungracious somehow if you say I want justice.
That's right. Yeah, it's all very, very wrong. I mean, there's other debates I've been listening to on the radio, literally about victims and that sort of thing. And actually,
this idea of victimhood, that the person who complains is just being a victim, and stop it.
Absolutely, it's been mentioned by one or two managers also saying. I mean, there was one manager that said that Evra should not be such a crybaby about the incident. Again, just totally outrageous thing to say. I mean, you know, when a wrong is done to you, for them to say that you cannot say and should not say anything about it, that is totally wrong. Because what message are we then giving to kids and the young people about that, if that is what we're trying to say? We're saying anything that's been happening to you is wrong. And we go into schools at the moment, we talk about bullying, we talk about racism, we talk about all these various things. And then you're now, on the other hand, you've got people in a position of power saying, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, what does that tell? What does it tell the kids? And kids then bottle these things up. Yeah. And they don't know how to deal with it. And, you know, and you end up with all the problems that manifest itself in so many different ways within society, because people are unable to express, you know, when a wrong has been done to them, and for it to be acknowledged that it's been done as something to actually, you know, to get some sort of recompense about the thing, you know, and it makes it very difficult.
Well, you're saying there's some of the problems around standing up, but what is your response when somebody says, just stop being hypersensitive? And in fact, it's making an issue where you don't need to be. You know, something was done, the guys said, put his hands up, just leave it. And actually, otherwise, it creates a bitterness, and it might even increase racism because people get fed up about hearing about it.